December 17, 1944. Pre-dawn fog clung to the Ardennes forest near Malmedy, Belgium. Oberlieutenant Friedrich Hartmann crouched behind his foxhole, eyes fixed on a frozen corpse lying 80 meters away. 4 of his men had fallen in the last hour, each killed by a single, impossibly precise rifle shot. No muzzle flash, no movement, no sign of the shooter. Just death, delivered from somewhere invisible. Hartmann's instinct screamed professional. This was no rookie's lucky shot. Somewhere ahead, a hunter waited, patient, experienced, deadly. A man dismissed by his own army as too old for combat. Master Sergeant William James Patterson was born in April 1903, just outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the son of a coal miner and a mother who raised 7 children in a cramped, freezing house. From the age of 9, Patterson hunted to supplement the family's meager diet. By 12, he could place a bullet in a rabbit's head at 75 yards. Every shot mattered. Missed shots meant hungry nights. He learned to wait, to read terrain, to anticipate movement, to remain motionless for hours until the perfect moment arrived. These lessons, forged in necessity, would later define him in a far more lethal arena than the Pennsylvania woods. At 16, Patterson followed his father into the coal mines, a place where mistakes could be fatal. Men died regularly from cave-ins, explosions, and equipment failure. Patterson survived by moving carefully, observing patterns, and remaining calm under pressure, skills that would transfer directly to combat decades later. In December 1941, Patterson attempted to enlist. At 38, he was rejected for being too old, a label that would haunt him repeatedly. He argued, demonstrating confidence in his stamina, marksmanship, and determination. The sergeant shook his head. Regulations were clear. Patterson tried again in March 1942, when the age limit was raised to 40, and finally gained acceptance. Basic training at Camp Wheeler, Georgia, nearly broke him. He was 15 to 20 years older than his peers. Running, forest marches, obstacle courses, they all tested him physically. But Patterson's rifle skills stood apart. He scored higher than any other recruit, consistently hitting targets at distances where others could barely see. His range instructor, Sergeant First Class James Morrison, noted, "You're the best natural shooter I've seen in 20 years. Patterson's answer was simple: hunting to feed my family.
After training, he was sent to England, expecting combat. Instead, Patterson found himself in supply depots, warehouses, and rear echelon duties. 15 months passed as he cataloged equipment, loaded trucks, and watched younger soldiers face the horrors of frontline combat. Requests for transfer to infantry roles were repeatedly denied. In November 1944, with the 106th Infantry Division stretched thin, Patterson appealed directly to the division commander. His persistence paid off. Colonel Charles Cavender, reviewing a dossier of a 41-year-old soldier with decades of marksmanship experience, finally authorized a transfer. Patterson was assigned to Company K, 423rd Infantry Regiment, and sent to a quiet sector in the Ardennes, a place for green troops to gain experience, little knowing that the quiet would soon erupt into one of the war's most ferocious offensives. December 16, 1944, 0530 hours. The Ardennes forest awoke to a thunderous roar as over 1,600 German artillery pieces unleashed a ferocious barrage along an 85-mile front. The 106th Infantry Division, holding 27 miles with just over 14,000 men, faced nearly 200,000 enemy soldiers. Patterson's first real taste of combat came at 0600 hours, near the village of Schonberg. German infantry emerged from the fog, advancing in disciplined waves. His squad of 12, mostly under 21, froze. Panic spread like wildfire. 2 soldiers bolted. Others crouched uselessly in foxholes. The cohesion that had seemed so solid minutes before evaporated. Patterson's reaction was different. Years in coal mines had taught him calm under pressure. Hunting had taught him patience. He issued measured commands. Stay down. Pick your targets. He demonstrated by eliminating a German officer at 250 meters, a single clean shot. Each bolt cycle, each careful aim steadied his squad. Panic gave way to methodical engagement. Over the next 4 hours, Patterson's squad held their position against repeated attacks, often outnumbered 10 to 1. He prioritized threats with clinical precision. Machine gunners, squad leaders, and officers were neutralized first. By 10 a.m. hours, surrounding units forced a regiment-wide withdrawal. Patterson, now alone with 6 remaining men, provided covering fire. 37 soldiers retreated safely by his disciplined, suppressive shooting. The Germans believed they faced a far larger defending force.
Patterson's age and experience translated into lethal effectiveness, his measured fire transforming panic into survival. This was not luck.
It was decades of skill applied under extreme pressure. At 41, Patterson was older than most junior officers in the division. Younger soldiers could match him physically, but none matched his calm, his judgment, or his ability to turn chaos into controlled lethality. He had finally proven in the crucible of combat that age and experience could outweigh youth, numbers, and raw aggression. The Ardennes would soon test him further, in ways that would etch his name into history. One angle of Patterson's story lies in the lethal intersection of patience and precision. While younger soldiers often reacted instinctively, Patterson waited. Hours passed as he lay motionless in snowdrifts, binoculars trained on German positions, memorizing routines, mapping movement, and calculating wind and distance. His M1903 Springfield rifle, standard issue with iron sights, became an extension of decades of practiced skill. Each shot was deliberate, each target chosen for maximum tactical effect. Officers, machine gunners, and mortar crews fell first. One burst of fire could change the course of a skirmish, and Patterson understood this instinctively. He didn't just kill, he disrupted, delayed, and disoriented the enemy before they even realized the threat. Another angle is the psychological dominance Patterson exerted over German forces. He became a ghost in the Ardennes, unseen, unheard, yet omnipresent. Reports from captured soldiers describe entire squads refusing daylight movement, hesitant officers, and stalled operations. The invisible American shooter forced the enemy to adapt, often in ways that reduced their offensive capability. This was not mere attrition. It was strategic control of the battlefield by a single, highly skilled individual. His kills were measured, but the fear he generated multiplied their effect exponentially. Patterson's impact extended far beyond bullets. He shaped enemy behavior. A third angle of Patterson's story is the transformative power of experience over raw youth. Rejected repeatedly for his age, he spent 18 months performing support duties while younger men faced combat. This delay, frustrating as it was, allowed Patterson to refine mental discipline, endurance, and strategic thinking.
When finally deployed, those years of observation, patience, and reflection gave him an edge few younger soldiers could match. Combat is not only physical, it is a test of decision-making under pressure, and Patterson's life experience amplified his ability to anticipate enemy movements and act decisively. A fourth angle is the human cost interwoven with tactical brilliance. Each of Patterson's 121 confirmed kills represented a life cut short. Sons, brothers, fathers, men with families and futures. He understood this weight. Unlike soldiers who glorified kill counts, Patterson approached each shot with solemn necessity. His discipline ensured survival for his squad and others nearby, but he never celebrated death. This moral awareness added a layer of humanity to his lethal efficiency, illustrating that extraordinary effectiveness in combat can coexist with conscience, empathy, and restraint. December 17th, 06:45 hours. Patterson moved silently into a concealed position roughly 300 meters ahead of American lines near Malmedy. Snow muffled his steps. The forest seemed empty, yet every shadow could conceal a German soldier. He settled behind a tree trunk, M1903 Springfield cradled against his shoulder, iron sights aligned. Hours passed. German patrols moved in predictable patterns. Officers emerged briefly to observe terrain. Machine gunners shifted positions. Patterson waited. 1, 2, 3 hours. Cold bit through his gloves. Fingers numb, muscles stiff, yet he remained motionless. Patience was his weapon. The first shot was clinical. A German officer fell. Panic rippled through enemy ranks. By midday, Patterson had eliminated a mortar crew, 6 men in 90 seconds. Each shot calculated, deliberate, unerring. Ammunition was precious. He rarely wasted a round. He advanced his position, relocating silently, forcing German troops to constantly reassess threat zones that were impossibly large for a single rifleman to control. Each kill created confusion. Each reposition compounded uncertainty. By afternoon, Patterson had inflicted losses that equaled those of an entire American platoon in the same sector. December 18th brought a new challenge, a road intersection crucial to German supply lines. Patterson observed from a ridge, snow masking his tracks. Vehicles moved cautiously, drivers attempting to follow orders, unaware that one unseen rifleman could obliterate coordination in minutes. 11 soldiers were eliminated over 3 hours.
Drivers abandoned vehicles. Officers fled to cover. Patterson didn't merely shoot, he disrupted an operational artery, delaying resupply and slowing attacks. Each action was methodical, each observation meticulous. By December 20th, Patterson had perfected the cycle: observe, calculate, engage, relocate. German forces responded with counter-sniper measures, spotters, triangulation, artillery suppression, but he was always a step ahead. Minimal exposure, maximum effect. His age granted endurance that younger men could not sustain. Hours of immobility, unwavering concentration, mental resilience under constant threat. Even as frostbite crept in and exhaustion mounted, he continued. Patterson was no longer a soldier. He was an instrument of precision, a single man altering the rhythm of a multi-division offensive through skill, patience, and relentless focus. December 22, 1944. Patterson faced one of his most complex assignments, a German company commander attempting to organize an attack from a partially concealed position. Visibility was poor, falling snow blurred contours, masking the target. Patterson studied the approach for 30 minutes, noting wind shifts, trajectories, and potential cover. From 280 meters, iron sights aligned, he fired once. The officer fell instantly. The attack dissolved as German soldiers sought cover, uncertain where the fatal shot originated. Patterson had not only killed a key target, he had neutralized an entire operation with a single, precise intervention. The following days tested endurance beyond human limits. 11 days of continuous engagement, minimal sleep, insufficient food. Frostbite gnawed at fingers, legs ached from immobility, but Patterson pressed on. December 28th brought the most difficult shot of the campaign, a German forward observer perched in a church steeple, directing artillery fire. Only a 20-centimeter target presented itself intermittently. Patterson calculated bullet drop, wind drift, and range, 350 meters. The shot traveled in a graceful arc and struck the observer in the throat. Artillery ceased immediately. Years of hunting, decades of disciplined marksmanship, and patience honed in coal mines and forests converged in a single, lethal moment. December 29th marked Patterson's final engagement of the Ardennes offensive. 2 American squads attempted to retake lost ground, but were pinned by a fortified German machine gun position. Direct assault would have meant multiple casualties.
Patterson advanced over 2 hours, exploiting terrain, observing enemy behavior, and identifying weaknesses. From 50 meters, he fired 3 shots in 15 seconds. Machine gunner, assistant, ammunition handler. The position collapsed. Not a single American life lost. That afternoon, Patterson finally collapsed, evacuated to a field hospital. Frostbite, malnutrition, and sheer exhaustion left him trembling. 23 pounds lost in 14 days. Yet his calculated lethality had resulted in 121 confirmed kills, unparalleled precision, and psychological dominance over an entire sector. His methodology was systematic: advanced positions, observation, selective engagement, rapid relocation, repeated over 14 days. Ammunition expenditure records indicate roughly 230 rounds fired, with a hit-to-shot ratio that suggests 93% effectiveness, extraordinary under any conditions, let alone freezing weather and enemy fire. German records corroborate the results. Officer casualties disproportionate. Machine gun crews neutralized before deployment. Entire operations delayed. Patterson's impact transcended numbers. He imposed control over terrain and morale, converting a single rifle into a force multiplier across an extended battlefield. Patterson's recovery was slow and painstaking. Evacuated to a field hospital, he endured weeks of treatment for frostbite, malnutrition, and exhaustion. His body had been pushed to its absolute limits. 14 days of near-continuous combat, minimal sleep, and harsh winter conditions left lasting effects. Doctors cautioned against returning to frontline duty. Yet Patterson, ever disciplined and steadfast, expressed his desire to continue. Colonel Charles Cavender faced a dilemma. The soldier had performed feats unmatched by any other, but the physical toll was severe. Ultimately, Patterson regained in a limited capacity, transitioning from active combat to training and advisory roles as his recovery progressed. Recognition for Patterson's accomplishments was complex. The Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military decoration, typically highlighted single acts of conspicuous bravery. Patterson's heroism, however, was sustained over 2 grueling weeks. Multiple engagements, cumulative effect, and consistent lethality presented a unique case.
Cavender submitted a recommendation citing 121 confirmed kills, the tactical disruption caused, and Patterson's role in saving dozens of American soldiers during retreats and counterattacks. Witness statements, German casualty records, and after-action reports reinforced the claim. Bureaucratic reviews slowed the process, but by February 1945, approval was granted. March 15, 1945. Patterson, now 41, stood before General Dwight Eisenhower at Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force. The ceremony acknowledged not only his lethal proficiency, but also the strategic value of experience and patience in combat. Eisenhower remarked on the transformative impact of a single, disciplined soldier on the Ardennes sector. Patterson received the Medal of Honor, becoming the oldest American in the European theater to do so. His citation emphasized extraordinary heroism and devotion to duty during sustained combat operations. Without highlighting age, it simply recognized results. Beyond formal recognition, Patterson's influence on American forces persisted. Reassigned to marksmanship training, he instructed replacement soldiers not merely in shooting technique, but in discipline, patience, and tactical observation. His methods emphasized controlled fire, observation of terrain, anticipation of enemy movement, and the psychological dimensions of combat. Soldiers who trained under him carried these lessons forward, amplifying his effect beyond the Ardennes. Patterson's presence reshaped attitudes toward older soldiers, highlighting that age could confer advantages rather than limitations in certain roles. German records captured after the war revealed the depth of Patterson's impact. In the sector opposite the 423rd Infantry Regiment, casualty reports from December 16th to December 29th listed approximately 850 German losses. Of these, 121 were identified as single-shot rifle casualties to the head or chest, often at ranges exceeding 150 meters. 19 were officers. 14 were machine gunners killed before their weapons could be brought into action. The pattern was unmistakable. German intelligence summaries described an exceptionally skilled American marksman whose presence rendered daylight movement hazardous. Artillery suppression was attempted repeatedly, but it achieved nothing. Patterson never fired twice from the same position. By the time shells landed, he was already gone.
Captured German officers later described the experience as fighting an invisible force. Oberleutnant Friedrich Hartmann, interrogated in January 1945, explained that his company altered its entire tactical posture. Daylight patrols ceased. Officers avoided exposure. Supply movement slowed. Entire operations were delayed or canceled due to fear of the unseen riflemen. Patterson had not merely inflicted casualties, he had imposed psychological dominance over terrain. In modern terms, he achieved area denial with a single bolt-action rifle. After the war, Patterson was discharged in November 1945 with the rank of Sergeant Major. He returned to Pennsylvania, a changed man. The coal mines no longer held meaning. He became a hunting guide and firearms instructor, passing on the discipline and patience that had defined his life. He rarely spoke of the war. When asked, he deflected praise. "I did what needed doing," he said. Yet those who served with him knew better. 7 men from his original squad survived the Battle of the Bulge and credited Patterson with their lives. Patterson died in April 1968 at age 65. His funeral was attended by veterans who had witnessed his quiet lethality firsthand. His Medal of Honor was donated to the Pennsylvania Military Museum, where it remains, a simple artifact representing an extraordinary convergence of age, experience, and battlefield necessity. His legacy reshaped assumptions. Early war doctrine favored youth, speed, and aggression. Patterson demonstrated that judgment, restraint, and experience could be just as decisive. His story influenced post-war thinking on sniper doctrine, marksmanship training, and personnel selection. Modern military forces would later embrace these lessons, valuing capability over age, experience over assumption. Behind the statistics lay a sobering truth. Each of the 121 men Patterson killed was a human being. Sons, husbands, brothers, caught in a war beyond their control. Patterson never glorified this. In later years, he acknowledged the weight of it. "I don't celebrate killing," he said. "I stopped men who were trying to kill my soldiers." His 14 days in the Ardennes were not about vengeance or heroism in the romantic sense. They were about survival, precision, and responsibility. A man once told he was too old proved that experience, when finally given a chance, could be deadlier than youth ever imagined. History remembers victories. It often forgets how they were achieved.
In the frozen forests of the Ardennes, victory did not come from youth, speed, or overwhelming force. It came from patience, from discipline, from a man who had waited most of his life to be taken seriously. William James Patterson was never supposed to be there. Too old to enlist, too old for the front, too old for combat. For nearly 2 years, the war passed him by, while younger men fought and died. Then, when the line broke and chaos replaced doctrine, experience finally mattered. In 14 days, Patterson proved that combat is not won by age alone, but by judgment under pressure, by the ability to wait when others rush, to fire once instead of 5 times, to understand terrain, human behavior, and fear. His rifle was ordinary, his ammunition standard. What made him lethal was time.
decades of it, compressed into moments where mistakes meant death. The Germans never saw him. They felt him. Movement slowed. Officers vanished. Attacks unraveled before they began. One man imposed control over a battlefield, not through noise or spectacle, but through certainty, through the quiet confidence that comes only from long experience. Patterson never celebrated his kills. He carried them as a burden, not a trophy. He understood what war demands and what it costs. When the shooting ended, he went home without fanfare, leaving behind a lesson written in snow and blood. Age did not weaken him, it sharpened him. In a war obsessed with youth, William James Patterson demonstrated a truth that armies would spend decades relearning. Skill outlasts strength, patience defeats aggression, and sometimes the man they call too old is exactly the one history needs.